Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is top real estate broker Larry Tollen of Coldwell Banker Advantages based out of Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Larry has been practicing real estate full-time for 25 years and has been actively involved in buying, building, renovating, and investing in real estate for roughly 40 years. His specialties include all aspects of residential real estate, new construction sales, relocation, luxury, and first-time buyers. He has received numerous awards over the years. Most recently, the MyNCHomes Team was named Coldwell Banker Advantages Runner-Up Team of the Year, Sales Team of the Year, and Listing Team of the Year for 2015 in the Research Triangle. They also received the Coldwell Banker International Diamond Award in 2015. In 2013 and 14, they were recipients of the Angie's List Super Service Award, and in 2014, Trulia awarded him Best of Trulia Top Agent in the area. So with all that, Larry, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Keith. Thanks for having me.
Now, Larry, if we could start, could you kind of tell our listeners, what led you into real estate? Was it something that you always knew that you wanted to do, or did you maybe kind of stumble into it?
I got the real estate bug very early on. I was 18 years old, living on my own in Mobile, Alabama, which is where I ultimately met my wife, Angela. And I started working with a group of guys. We were buying and renovating homes that were on the historic register. Mobile, Alabama's downtown was undergoing a revival at that time, and then we would resell these to doctors, lawyers, and other professionals. And honestly, after the first sale, I was basically hooked.
Excellent. And can you maybe talk a little bit about what personal attributes, traits, or qualities do you think have most contributed to the success that you've had all these years, and maybe talk a little about how you developed those?
Sure, Keith. Hard work and integrity, honestly, I think are my strongest two attributes that have contributed to my success. I've always been what is frequently referred to as a workaholic, and honestly, if I don't feel that I'm juggling perhaps one too many balls, then I'm really not happy, and I've always gone out and taken on more work. Real estate easily enables me to work as hard or as easily as I wish, so it was naturally a good fit for me. To me, the most successful business people understand and embrace the golden rule of do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And I've tried throughout my life to practice this philosophy, and it's enabled me to build the cornerstone of a strong business, which is namely repeat and referral business. Lastly, I believe in developing habits, whether it's working, exercising, diet, whatever. I'm a believer that if you do things consistently, it becomes easier, and I believe that if you do something for 4 weeks consistently, you've developed a habit and will likely continue with that habit.
Excellent. I'd like to highlight two things to our listeners there that you said, because I think they're really important when it comes to even real estate or business in general, right? And you talked about, the first kind of the golden rule, which is as most people know as, do unto others or treat others the way that you want to be treated. And it seems so simple on the surface, but in reality, it's if you just live by that and you focus on that, I think that we've seen guest after guest, we've talked to them about helping others and listening to their needs and kind of helping them fill their needs versus I don't think one person we've had on the show that's had success like you've had has ever said, I focus on the money. I focus on the commission. I focus on that. Everybody that comes on, they talk about how they focus on helping others. And I think the other thing you pointed out that was extremely important is the consistency, to develop a system, a process, and do it over and over again to where, like you said, it becomes, subconscious, it becomes a habit, and it's just the way that you do things in life.
I couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
And I guess, Larry, do you think maybe you could give, an example or some examples of when your traits have played a role in your path towards success?
My clients learn very early on as we begin to work together that they can absolutely count on me to communicate with them promptly, to answer their questions, and that, in fact, I really am not worried about the money. I'm in a fortunate position where My team and I have really enough business that we occasionally find ourselves struggling to keep up. And I've always focused, and I've taught my teammates that really, guys, our job is to supply our clients with the information that they need to make a good, informed decision. And that if you do that consistently, as you pointed out just a moment ago, the money really does take care of itself.
Excellent. And obviously in your, you said you've been roughly involved in real estate for 40 years. So I imagine everything hasn't been just, a smooth, perfect path, as you've built things up. So maybe could you talk a little bit about some of the major adversities and trials that you've had to overcome in order to continuously, keep achieving your goals?
Sure. I think the main one is one that every 100% commission salesperson finds themselves dealing with usually more than one time or another in their career. And that's to have the confidence to hang in there when business is slow and to keep practicing that consistency, doing what you need to do, and moving forward. And for myself, early on, and again, I would suspect that this is somewhat common with sales people in the sales industry, that you have to learn how to take that focus off of yourself and your particular needs and focus outwardly on your clients and their needs. And you kind of alluded to that a little earlier on as well. And once I really learned to do that, I just learned that I could stop worrying about the money, that the money was just a reflection of the service that I was giving, and if I was giving good service, then the money took care of itself and I could stop worrying about it.
Excellent. And I guess can you maybe speak a little bit to, what kept you going? You obviously ran into obstacles, you had, things kind of come up, and, why didn't you give up on things? Why did you keep, moving forward? What keeps you going? What's your driving force?
I am competitive by nature. And whatever it is that I'm doing, I like to know that I'm consistently doing it as good or better than my competition. And I thought it's interesting what keeps me going. It's easy to keep going, I think, when you have a family, in my case, a wife, and at this point he's an adult son. But, when I started, I had a wife and a young child. I married early. I was a father by 25 years old. And frankly, it just never really dawned on me to throw in the towel.
Excellent. And maybe kind of looking forward a little bit, can you talk about what your vision is for your team and your group kind of in your business here for the next 5 years?
Sure. A little maybe backstories in order. For the past several years, my work schedule is, I would say, I work too much. I work 7 days a week, 12 to 14 hours every single day. I honestly consider a day off when I can work from home for 5 or 6 hours. That strikes me as a day off. Even when I'm out of town or I'm away on a short vacation, I've always got my cell phone, iPad, or laptop with me. And it's not that I love never being unplugged. It's simply that I understand and accept that my clients are counting on me, that buying and selling or selling a home is not only an emotional experience, but for most people it's the single largest financial transaction that they're likely to be involved in. And I take my responsibility to my clients seriously. So over the next 5 years, I actually see myself turning more of my business over to my business partner, Andrew Palumbo, and the team. I'm at that point in my life where I really want to buy back some of my time. Ideally, I'd like to see myself drop down from like 80 to 90-hour standard weeks to maybe a more normal 40 to 50-hour weeks. Later this year, my wife and I are going to become grandparents for the first time, and I'm looking forward to spending some time with our grandchild.
Well, that's a great thing. I actually, because when I married my wife, she had children, so I had stepkids. So I actually became a grandfather at a young age, and it's a lot of fun. I actually have a 6-year-old grandson. So it's
Well, we're looking
grand.
forward to it. It's exciting.
It is. It is so much fun because we see him a few times a week and help her out with him, and he is just he brings that. We have young kids still. I mean, my daughters are 14 and 16 that are still in school, but having that new, he's just so full of life and hey Papa, and let's go play. So it's a great thing. It's a great experience. Kind of, I guess maybe if you could talk a little bit. So you're kind of, looking to scale back a little bit, to kind of turn over the reins a little bit. But from a standpoint of growth, what do you feel the best way that your team, moving forward, continues to market, themselves and the services that you offer, so you guys can have continual growth and keep building.
Sure. I firmly believe that any realtor today not heavily focused on the internet is either at the end of their career and they don't care that much about building a business, or they may be new, in which case they're unlikely to stay in the business for very long. My wife and I relocated here to the Chapel Hill Durham Research Triangle area in 2004, literally for no reason whatsoever. We didn't know a single person in the state. We're both self-employed and can live and work anywhere. And actually, this area was the last area we looked at on our original short list of places we were considering. Once we made the decision to move here, I had come here from the Mount Snow area of southern Vermont, where I ran a large real estate firm. And I know real estate is a networking business. Well, when you don't have any connections, it's kind of hard to develop a network and get up and running. And I am a relatively bright guy, and I study data on a regular basis, and the National Association of Realtors has for years said you've got 90+% of all buyers and sellers start looking on the internet. And so I made a very conscientious decision, and I'm self-taught, to develop my business on the internet. And I think that if you want continual growth, this is absolutely where you have to be. And I'll admit it takes time, it takes energy, focus, commitment, and money. But then, quite honestly, so does any successful business. And I think that realtors need to embrace the fact that we truly are in business for ourselves, and that it's important that we develop our own brand and that we promote it, and that we stop looking at whatever firm we may work with, whether it's Coldwell Banker or, as I do, or Keller Williams or any of the big national firms, and instead focus on building your own business. I think that the best companies absolutely will assist you and they're going to support you, but that ultimately you've got to realize it's up to you to assume control of your business.
Yeah, I think you made a key point, and anybody that's listening that's either new in real estate or thinking about real estate, that this isn't just, and I think that kind of, it almost leads us into our next question where we talk about some of the misconceptions and myths of agents. But I think as a person trying to get into real estate, some people just assume, like, I'm going to go do a little bit of training, I'm going to pass a state test, I got my license, I'm going to be rich tomorrow, it's all magic. And but I think, like you said, it's important to really think about this, that you're an independent contractor in most states. You're not directly employed by any of these companies that you've mentioned, and it's your responsibility to facilitate the growth of your business. You're in business now. You're not just a person as an employee, right? And I think what you pointed out there is key to make sure people understand that they should take that serious and utilize the assets that your company provides to you. But at the end of the day, you need to take care of yourself, and it's your job and your responsibility to build your brand and your business and have the kind of success that you want to have.
I absolutely agree, and I think that it's unfortunate that too often too many realtors don't do enough of their own homework up front when they're considering real estate as a possible career. I think that they feel that I think that what brings them in is that they see this as a very, in their mind, as a very low overhead business. And as you say, all right, you could theoretically in most states have your license and be ready to go for under $1,000, which is pretty low. And they feel like, well, I've spent my whatever $600-700. I passed my test. I've got my license. I've got a laptop. I'm ready to go. And they don't realize, and these statistics have been consistent for decades, 80% of new agents aren't going to last 2 years, and that the average realtor in the country today barely grosses $40,000 a year. I think that there's this perception that people get into real estate and immediately start earning six-figure incomes, and I can attest that that really isn't the way it works.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess if we could also maybe look at the other side of the coin of where we, I think now from like a homeowner standpoint, I think a lot of times there's some misconceptions there where they assume, oh, I'll just put a sign up in my front yard. It's no big deal. And they don't really understand everything that a realtor or broker brings to the table. So maybe can you talk a little bit about, what you think the biggest misconception or myth people have about working with a real estate agent is?
I think that the biggest misconception is that we're all alike, that one is the same as the other. And I would suggest that at the end of the day, nothing trumps experience. If I would perhaps say to someone who is interviewing other agents or is possibly considering doing a for sale by owner, would you rather be operated on by a doctor who is doing the procedure for the first time or maybe the 300th time? Would you want an attorney to represent you who is fresh out of law school if you could have one for the same price who had represented cases like yours dozens or hundreds of times? I have over 1,500 successful transactions behind me. They're not all successful. I don't win every negotiation that I'm in. But I have solved the problems I've encountered and solved virtually every problem. I can't remember the last time I actually stumbled across something new, many dozens or hundreds of times. And I know that if my clients allow me to assist them, that when we have a stumbling block in a transaction, that I can help them solve that problem successfully as well. I also think that it's important that if you're thinking of listing your home, what are you getting for your money, the commission that you're agreeing to pay? My online marketing budget alone is in excess of what the average realtor in this country grosses a year. I spend that money and I hire professional photographers and I hire staging consultants for my sellers. And these are things that I pay for. And I have appraisers go in and create floor plans for every listing I have. And this is regardless of whether it's a little $100,000 townhome or if it's a $1 million home. I treat everyone the same, but I spend this money because I understand it takes money to make money. And I've got to get the property sold. No one's paying me for doing any of this. I don't get paid to consult with people, to sit down and talk with people. I get paid when we've closed. So it doesn't behoove me not to do everything I possibly can in terms of marketing to give my sellers an advantage, a marketing advantage over the competition.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that kind of leads me into another point here of we'd like to ask like a hypothetical question. So let's say you get and you may have actually dealt with this, obviously, the amount of time that you have in real estate. Let's say you get a call from a family member in another state and they want to sell their home. What advice would you give them about selecting an agent that could best serve their needs? Kind of like, how you take care of your clients. What would you tell them, so they could facilitate, finding an agent that could take care of them?
I would encourage, and I encourage anyone who's listening here, take the time. I don't feel that most people take sufficient time to interview agents. Oftentimes it's more of a little personality. Oh, they seem nice. Well, I'm not saying they're not nice. They could very well be nice people, but I think that it's important to ask people, realtors, how long have you been in the business? How many transactions have you closed last year or in the last 12 months, and give me evidence of that? And I would suggest that if they're not closing at least 20 transactions a year, you may want to look elsewhere. And then if you're on the listing side, you want to find out, what are you doing for my marketing? Okay, and what are you willing to commit in terms of a marketing budget? And if you're on the really either side, buyer or seller, you want to find out more about, when are you available? What's your work schedule like? Do you work 7 days a week? Can I call you at 6 in the morning? If I call you at 9 o'clock at night, will you return my call? And when can I expect a call back? Do you like text or email or phone calls? Everyone's slightly different, and I'm not saying that one form of communication is better than another, but I think that, at least for myself, I try to meet my clients on whatever level they're comfortable at. I have a preference for email, but it doesn't mean I won't talk on the phone and that I don't text. I do both. And I think that you need to, I think both parties, I always, whenever I meet with people, I tell them, look, this is a preliminary meeting. I'm not asking you to sign anything. We don't know one another. Let's sit down, have a conversation, and let's see if we think we'd be a good fit to work together. I don't work with everyone that I sit down with. For whatever reason, I may not feel we're a good fit, and I've just learned that it's usually best to not get started at that time. And by the same token, for whatever reason, some people may not feel comfortable with me, and I accept that. And I think that my advice is spend time on that interview process.
Excellent advice. And Larry, if somebody's in the area, obviously the North Carolina, the Research Triangle area, which I guess is what, Raleigh, Durham area?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If someone's in that area and they need real estate agents or they need a broker that can help them, what's the best way they can find out more information about you and how you can help them?
I would suggest my website, MyNC for North Carolina Homes.com, or simply Google my name or Google MyNC Homes. We are all over the internet. You'll find us easily. And, of course, you can always give me a call. My cell number is 919-619-8675. All I ask is if you call. Oftentimes I'm out with people, and I don't like to interrupt that flow to grab a phone call. So please leave me your name, a number, maybe a brief message, and I promise I'll get back to you promptly.
Excellent. Well, Larry, we want to thank you for taking time to come here today and share your business experience and all the knowledge and infinite wisdom that you've had over these years with our listeners. And if you want to learn more about Larry, you can visit his site, like you said, MyNCHomes.com. We'll also, below this interview, for everybody interested, we'll have a link to his website, as well as we'll have his phone number and any other contact information that Larry has provided us. With that said, everybody, until our next show, have a great day, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.